Hi everyone, my name is Rich Steenburg and I work at WePay, and my job here is to tell you a little bit about WePay's history and our history with MySQL. So let's get going. This is our journey. Back in 2008 we were founded in Boston. Our founders Rich Aberman and Bill Clerico then drove the company literally in a car across the country and started in California. In 2010, we released our first API. The founder of PHP, the creator of PHP, built our API for us, Rasmus Lurdorf, and that was really the first step to us growing to what we are today. Around 2013 is when we put the risk engine into it, and I think, in my opinion, that's really what changed our company. That let us take us to the next step. Distinguished us from the competitors at the time, and we started to grow. That's when the curve started to come up. And from 2013 till about 2016 was the rough period. I started in 2014, and they called it the champagne effect, when literally what it was is like things were just breaking all over the place. It was kind of crazy. 2017, we were acquired by JPMorgan Chase. And they acquired us because of our shift from crowdfunding to small and medium businesses around also the 2014 timeframe. And now we're ready for our next steps with Chase. So as part of the Chase family, we have three offerings. Clear is our historic API-based interface. It's a indirect model where our customers are platforms and then people use the platforms but then use WePay for payments. Link is our direct business, so these are customers of Chase, and Chase has integrated our APIs. So that's really one of the biggest strategic positions that WePay has within Chase in the small to medium business platform. And Core is for the big guys. They're integrated directly with Chase for payments, but WePay's really sweet API and onboarding experience reduces a lot of friction. Again, a huge value that Chase sees in WePay. And so they use us for oversight and for onboarding for the big guys. So what does this mean for WePay? Well, the scale and distribution of Chase is just enormous. So that's just going to be, the way WePay is positioned within Chase is going to be huge for us. And the headwind for WePay has always been brand. And when you're talking about payments, trust is a huge aspect of payments. You don't want the company to be some fly-by-night firm that's going to go out of business. Also, it's your most sensitive data. You've got credit cards and all this personal information that we heard about before. With Chase's acquisition, that problem with WePay is gone now. I mean, Chase is one of the most trusted brands in the world. And so choosing WePay for payments really isn't that scary anymore. So this is a slide just showing how, like some of our customers and how they authenticate with us. So I'll just move on with that. So I've told you a little bit about the history of WePay. Now I want to talk about MySQL at WePay. And back in 2008, when Rich and Bill drove across the country, literally they put everything into MySQL. There was nothing else, including our application logs. That's just the way they did it. And it was maybe not the best design. And as we started to grow, this design started to show cracks. Today, we're just enormous. We have 250,000 calls per minute. The size of the buffer cache is 700 gig. We have a 23 terabyte database, so it's enormous. It's just enormous. And my team is responsible for making this highly available. So this is a chart showing our growth in terms of terabytes. 2014 is when we really started to take off. This is then the slide that shows the replicas on top of that. So the scale of the first one, and then you have like slave replicas and other replicas for analysis and 6 or 7 different copies of that huge database. You're just getting a sense of the growth, and it's not sustainable. We expect to see huge growth going forward at a much more rapid pace, and this is just an unsustainable curve. It's just not possible. So let's go through some events. We were on MySQL 5.1 back in 2008. In 2012, we went to a MySQL 5.5 Galera cluster. We moved to MHA. This is primarily due to the issues that we were seeing. In our cloud provider, Galera did not work very well. It worked fine in a more on-premise type of situation, but in a cloud where things go bump in the night all the time, and the cluster has to gain quorum, these little bumps in the night were causing significant issues. This is also when I joined. The first day on the job at my company, I walk in the door and I get acclimated to the company, and I meet my coworkers and the people that I'm working with, the SREs, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the whole company went down. And it was because the HA proxy load balancer was overloaded at the time, and we had to figure it out the very first day. In 2016, we made some improvements to the MySQL cluster. So what we had with Galera was that we were able to make changes basically at any time because we had 4 active copies of the database. We were able to shut one down, make changes to it, upgrade the OS, bring it back in, have it rejoin the cluster. When we moved to MHA, we lost that flexibility. We didn't have the same flexibility to do those types of operations. Also, with Galera, if something went bump in the night, we had to wait until somebody got there to fix it. But now, I'm sorry, with Galera, when things went bump in the night, it fixed itself because the node was taken out. But with MHA, we had to do it all ourselves. And then in 2018, this is when we really doubled down in MySQL. Back in 2014, we were really wondering whether MySQL was the right thing for us. We were concerned about its reliability. And then in 2018, that's when we moved to MySQL 5.7. We turned on semi-synchronous replication. We turned on GTIDs, and we put in Orchestrator. And Orchestrator able to handle unplanned events that put us back to where we were with Galera. We were then now able to take care of events as they happened. So what happened there? So we are a monolith, but we are also microservices. And the microservices have been coming, and they're growing, and they're becoming more powerful. What we did there is we took a huge portion of our monolith database and dropped it because it was being served by our microservices. And this is how we're going to survive. This is how we're going to continue. So the microservices that WePay. Like I said, we removed the fraud system from the monolith databases. We have about 150 microservices. As we're migrating the data out of MySQL, it's not, the microservices can use MySQL as their persistence, but there's other options. My team takes a lot of care in choosing which storage systems we support, and we've made great choices, and I'm happy to say that MySQL is one of those choices that we made, and it's been fantastic for us now that we know how to do it right. So for our microservices, it's not like the monolith. We have a single instance to single DB to single service, so there's a one-to-one-to-one mapping. We're changing that. This is also provided by a cloud provider. We're taking that out, and because we're so good at managing this huge, fast-moving database in the monolith, we're building the same infrastructure for the microservices. This is what it's going to look like. We're just going to use HA proxy for the load balancer. We're looking at proxy SQL. We're also looking at going to MySQL 8 because a lot of the features that Tomas was talking about, I'm very excited about all of the great features that's coming. That's it. So thank you very much.